Jake Martinez looked out the window of the spaceship and saw nothing but stars. He had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place. Today was the day humans would meet a new alien race for the first time. His hands were shaking a little. The ship was called the New Horizon. It was big and white with blue lights along its sides. Jake worked as a scientist who studied aliens and their ways of life. He was 32 years old and had spent most of his adult life learning about different cultures. But he had never met real aliens before. Dr. Lisa Carter walked into the room where Jake was standing. She was the boss of all the people who talked to other governments. Lisa was smart and calm, and she always wore a dark blue uniform with gold buttons. "Are you ready for this, Jake?" Lisa asked. She sat down at the big table in the middle of the room. "I think so," Jake said. "But I am nervous. What if I say something wrong? What if I make them angry?" Lisa smiled. "You have studied their culture for months. You know more about the Volari than anyone else on this ship. Just remember what we learned about them." Jake sat down next to Lisa. The room had big screens on the walls that showed space outside. There were also computers and chairs for the other people who would be in the meeting. "Tell me again what we know," Jake said. Lisa opened a file on her computer. Pictures of tall, thin beings appeared on the screen. They looked like humans, but much taller. Their skin glowed with soft light that changed colors. They had long arms and legs, and they moved like they were floating. "The Volari have been watching our colonies for 2 years," Lisa said. "They can read thoughts, but they also use their bodies to talk. The way they stand and move tells other Volari how they feel. And they like to be close to each other," Jake added. "Yes. In their culture, being close to someone means you trust them. If you stay far away, it means you do not like them or you think they are dangerous." Jake felt his stomach turn. Humans were not like that. Most humans did not like strangers getting too close to them. It made them feel uncomfortable. "What if they want to touch me?" Jake asked. "Then you will have to decide what is more important," Lisa said. "Your comfort or making peace with a new alien race." Captain Amy Rodriguez came into the room. She was the leader of the ship. Amy was short but strong, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been flying spaceships for 20 years. "They are here," Amy said. "The Volari ship just appeared on our sensors. It is beautiful, like nothing I have ever seen before." Jake went to the window again. Far away, he could see a silver ship that looked like it was made of light. It was long and curved, and it seemed to dance as it moved through space. "How long until they come aboard?" Lisa asked. 1 hour, Amy said. "Jake, are you sure you want to be the main person talking to them?" "We could ask someone else to do it." Jake thought about this. He could say no and let someone else take the risk. But he had spent so many years dreaming of meeting aliens. This was his chance to make history. "No," Jake said. "I want to do this." Amy nodded. "Good. Remember, they asked to meet with just one person first. They said having too many people in the room makes them nervous. Their leader is named Zafira. She is like their president." For the next hour, Jake tried to calm his nerves. He read his notes again. He practiced what he would say. He even looked in the mirror to make sure he looked friendly. Ben Foster came to see him. Ben was Jake's best friend on the ship. He studied cultures too, but he was better with human cultures than alien ones. "You look scared," Ben said. "I am scared," Jake admitted. "What if this goes wrong? What if we start a war by accident?" "You will not start a war," Ben said. "You are good at understanding people. Aliens are just people who look different." At exactly 2 o'clock, the door to the meeting room opened. Jake stood up straight and tried to look calm. Captain Rodriguez came in first, followed by Dr. Carter. Then the aliens entered. Jake had seen pictures, but seeing them in real life was different. Zafira was almost 7 feet tall. Her skin glowed with soft blue and green light. She moved like she was swimming through the air instead of walking. Behind her came 2 other Volari who looked similar but smaller. Zafira looked at Jake with large dark eyes. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, but Jake could not understand the words. A small machine on her belt made the words into English. "I am Zafira of the Volari. You must be Jake Martinez. We have heard much about humans and their curiosity." "Yes, I am Jake," he said. "Welcome to our ship. We are honored to meet you." The meeting started well. They talked about their home planets and their people. Zafira explained that the Volari lived on a world covered in crystal forests. Jake told her about Earth and its blue oceans. After an hour of talking, Zafira stood up. She glided over to where Jake was sitting. Her skin colors changed to warmer shades of gold and pink. "Jake Martinez, she said through her translator. In my culture, when we trust someone, we share closeness. May I rest upon your knee supports as a sign of friendship between our peoples? Jake's mind went blank. He knew what she was asking. She wanted to sit on his lap like a child might sit with a trusted adult. In her culture, this was normal and meant respect. But Jake was a human man, and she was an alien woman, and every part of his brain was telling him this was wrong. He sat completely still, unable to speak or move. The room became very quiet. Zephyra's skin color started to change to darker shades. The other Valari stepped back, and Jake could see confusion in their eyes. Everyone was looking at him, waiting for his answer, but Jake could not make himself move or speak. He was frozen. The silence in the room felt like it lasted forever. Jake sat frozen in his chair while Zephyra stood next to him, waiting for an answer. Her skin, which had been glowing with warm golden colors, slowly turned to deep purple and dark blue. Jake had read enough about Valari culture to know this was not good. Dr. Carter stepped forward quickly. Ambassador Zephyra, please forgive us. Humans have different customs about physical contact. Jake means no disrespect. Zephyra turned to look at Lisa. Her large dark eyes seemed sad and confused. Different customs? She asked through her translator. But physical closeness is how all civilized beings show trust and friendship. How do humans show these things? Jake finally found his voice, but it came out weak and shaky. We use words mostly, and sometimes we shake hands. Shake hands? Zephyra repeated. She looked at the other Valari behind her. They whispered to each other in their musical language. Their skin colors were all turning darker. Perhaps we should take a break, Captain Rodriguez suggested. She could see that something was going wrong, but she did not understand what. Zephyra moved away from Jake. When she spoke again, her voice was colder. We came here because we believed humans might be worthy of joining the galactic community. We watched your colonies and saw how you cared for each other, but now we see that you are cold beings who cannot even show simple kindness to visitors. That is not true, Jake said, standing up quickly. We do care about each other. We show it differently. By refusing to share closeness, by treating guests like enemies? Zephyra's translator made her words sound even more hurt. In our observations, we saw human parents hold their children. We saw friends embrace. We thought you understood the value of physical comfort. Were we wrong? Jake felt terrible. He wanted to explain that it was different when strangers were involved. He wanted to tell her about human history and why they were careful about personal space. But every word he thought of sounded like an excuse. The other Valari were now standing closer together. Their skin had turned almost black, which Jake remembered meant they were feeling threatened or unwelcome. This was exactly what he had been afraid would happen. We will return to our ship, Zephyra announced. Perhaps humans are not ready to meet other species. We will tell the Galactic Council that Earth should remain isolated until its people learn proper behavior. Wait, please, Dr. Carter said. Do not judge all humans by this one moment. Jake is a good man who was simply surprised. Give us another chance. Surprised? Zephyra turned her dark eyes back to Jake. You knew we were coming. You studied our culture. Did you not know that closeness is important to us? I did know, Jake admitted. I could not do it. I'm sorry. Sorry is not enough, Zephyra said. You have insulted not just me, but my entire people. You have shown that humans see us as dangerous or disgusting. This meeting is over. The Valari left the room, their skin still dark with hurt and anger. Captain Rodriguez followed them to make sure they got safely back to their ship. Dr. Carter and Jake were left alone in the meeting room. Well, Lisa said, sitting down heavily, that could have gone better. Jake put his head in his hands. I ruined everything. The first chance humans had to make friends with aliens, and I destroyed it. You did not destroy anything, Lisa said, but her voice did not sound very sure. You had a natural human reaction. Most people would have done the same thing. That is the problem, Jake said. If most humans would react the same way, then maybe the Valari are right. Maybe we are not ready to meet other species. Over the next few hours, news of the failed meeting spread through the ship. Jake could see people looking at him in the hallways. Some looked angry, others looked disappointed. A few people tried to tell him it was not his fault, but Jake did not believe them. Ben Foster found Jake in his room that night. Jake was sitting on his bed staring at the wall. Stop feeling sorry for yourself, Ben said. We need to fix this. How? Jake asked. They think humans are cold and unfriendly. They are probably right. No, they are not right, Ben said firmly. Humans are not cold. We are careful. There is a difference. Is there? I had a chance to show them that humans could be trusted, and I froze up like a scared child. Ben sat down next to Jake. Do you know why you froze up? Because I am a coward? No, because you are human. Humans have been surviving for thousands of years by being careful about who they trust. When a stranger wants to get close to us, our brains tell us to be careful. It is not cowardice. It is survival instinct. Jake looked at his friend. That does not help us now. The Valari are gone and they think we are terrible. Maybe, Ben said, but I have been reading more about their culture. Did you know that the gesture Zephyra wanted to make is how Valari children show trust to adults? What do you mean? In their society, when a young Valari meets an elder they respect, they ask to sit close to them. It is like a child asking to sit on their grandparents' lap. It shows innocence and trust. Jake felt even worse. So she was trying to show me the highest form of respect and I rejected her. Yes, but that is not the important part, Ben said. The important part is that she chose a gesture that would be comfortable for humans if we understood it correctly. She did not ask you to share thoughts telepathically. She did not ask you to glow like they do. She picked something that human families do all the time. But we are not family. To the Valari, all civilized beings are family, Ben explained. That is how they see the universe. One big family where everyone takes care of everyone else. Jake was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "What do we do now?" "We learn," Ben said. "We figure out how to bridge the gap between human caution and alien openness. And we try again. The Valari will not give us another chance." "Maybe not," Ben admitted. "But there are other alien species out there. And if we can learn from this mistake, maybe we can do better next time." Jake lay down on his bed and stared at the ceiling. Outside his small window, he could see the Valari ship in the distance. It was still beautiful, but now it looked lonely too. "Ben," Jake said, "Yeah? Do you think humans will ever be able to fit in with other species? Or are we too different?" Ben was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I think being different is not the problem. The problem is not understanding each other, and understanding can be learned." "I hope you are right," Jake said. "So do I," Ben replied. That night, Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about Zephyra's dark, hurt eyes. He kept wondering if this was the end of humanity's chance to join the galactic community. And he kept asking himself if there was any way to fix what he had broken. Jake returned to human space with a new mission. He had spent 3 months on Valaris Prime, and now he understood what needed to be done. Humans had to learn to control their fear of closeness when making friends with aliens was more important than personal comfort. Captain Rodriguez listened to Jake's report in her office aboard the New Horizon. Dr. Carter was there too, along with Communications Officer Danny Clark, who had been working on ways to talk with different alien species. "So you think we can train humans to overcome their instincts?" Rodriguez asked. "Not overcome them," Jake corrected. "Use them wisely. Our caution is not a weakness. It is a tool. We just need to learn when to use it and when to put it aside." "That sounds harder than it looks," Danny said. "How do you train someone to ignore millions of years of evolution?" Jake smiled. "The same way we train someone to jump out of a perfectly good spaceship or eat food that looks dangerous. We practice. We start small and work our way up." Over the next 6 months, Jake worked with Dr. Carter and Danny to create training programs for human diplomats. They started with simple exercises, shaking hands with strangers, standing closer to people during conversations, sharing meals with unfamiliar colleagues. The hardest part was helping humans understand that not all physical contact meant the same thing. A hug between family members was different from a handshake between business partners, which was different from the respectful closeness that aliens like the Valari used to show friendship. "Think of it like learning a new language," Jake explained to a group of trainee diplomats. "When you learn French, you do not forget English. You just add new ways to communicate. Physical contact with aliens is the same thing." One of the trainees, a young woman named Sandy Brooks, raised her hand. "But what if we still feel uncomfortable? What if our instincts are too strong?" "Then you acknowledge those feelings and work through them," Jake said. "Fear is normal. The brave thing is not to stop feeling fear. The brave thing is to act despite the fear when something important is at stake." While Jake was developing the training programs, he got exciting news. The Volari had agreed to try meeting with humans again, but this time they wanted to do it properly. Zephyra has sent a message, Dr. Carter told Jake. She wants to know if you are ready to try again. Jake felt his stomach flip with nervousness, but he nodded. Yes, I am ready. The second meeting was arranged for 6 months later. This time it would take place on a neutral space station halfway between Earth and Valaris Prime. Representatives from both species would be there, along with observers from 3 other alien races who were curious about whether humans could really change. Jake spent weeks preparing. He practiced relaxation techniques that Dr. Wilson had taught him. He studied Volari culture until he knew it better than some Volari did. Most importantly, he reminded himself every day why this meeting mattered. It is not just about me anymore, he told Ben Foster the night before the meeting. If this works, it could open the galaxy to all of humanity. If it fails, we might be alone among the stars forever. No pressure, Ben joked, but Jake could see the worry in his friend's eyes. The space station was called Unity 1, and it was built specifically for meetings between different species. The rooms could be adjusted for different atmospheric needs, gravity levels, and cultural preferences. When Jake arrived, he was amazed by how many different aliens were working together to run the station. He saw tall, thin beings that looked like walking plants. He saw short, round creatures covered in soft fur. He saw beings made of what looked like living crystal. All of them worked side by side, sharing tasks and helping each other. Impressive, is it not? Said a familiar voice. Jake turned to see Zephyra approaching. Her skin was glowing with cautious but hopeful colors. Very impressive, Jake agreed. I had no idea so many species work together. Most do, Zephyra said. Cooperation is how we survive in the vast emptiness of space. Species that cannot cooperate do not usually last long. The words were a gentle reminder of what was at stake. Jake felt his nervousness increase, but he also felt determined. The meeting room was designed to be comfortable for both humans and Volari. There were chairs for humans and flowing cushions for Volari. The lighting was warm but not too bright. Soft music played in the background. This time Jake was not alone. Dr. Carter was with him, along with 2 other human diplomats who had completed the training program. On the Volari side, Zephyra had brought 3 advisors. The formal discussions went well. They talked about trade agreements, scientific cooperation, and cultural exchange programs. Both sides were polite and respectful. Jake began to hope that maybe this time would be different. Then, during a break in the formal talks, Zephyra approached Jake again. Her skin shifted to the same warm golden colors he remembered from their first meeting. Jake Martinez, she said. I would like to try again the gesture that failed before. Not as part of the official negotiations, but as a personal sign of respect between us. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. This was the moment he had been preparing for. All around the room, humans and Volari were watching. The observers from the other alien species had stopped their own conversations to see what would happen. Jake took a deep breath and remembered everything he had learned. He thought about the Volari children he had watched playing together on their homeworld. He thought about how this gesture was meant to show trust and respect, not anything threatening. Most importantly, he thought about what this moment could mean for the future of human-alien relations. I would be honored, Ambassador Zephyra, he said. Zephyra's skin brightened with surprise and joy. She moved gracefully to where Jake was sitting and carefully positioned herself as she had tried to do months earlier. This time, Jake did not freeze. He remained calm and welcoming as she settled beside him in the traditional Volari pose of diplomatic friendship. The room was completely silent for a moment. Then, one of the plant-like aliens began making a sound that Jake realized was applause. Soon all the aliens in the room were showing approval in their various ways. Even the human diplomats were smiling and clapping. How do you feel? Zephyra asked quietly. Nervous, Jake admitted, but proud and hopeful. Good, Zephyra said. Those are the right feelings for a moment like this. They sat together for several minutes while the formal photographer captured images that would be sent across the galaxy. Jake found that once he relaxed, the gesture was not threatening at all. It was actually quite comfortable. like sitting with a trusted friend. When Zafira finally stood up, her skin was glowing with the warmest, brightest colors Jake had ever seen from her. "The galaxy will hear of this," she announced to the room. "Humans have shown that they can grow beyond their instincts for the sake of friendship. This is a rare and valuable trait." Later that day, Jake received messages from Earth and from several alien worlds. News of the successful meeting was spreading quickly. Other alien species that had been watching from a distance were now expressing interest in meeting with humans. "You did it," Dr. Carter told him as they prepared to return to human space. "You proved that humans can adapt." "We all did it," Jake corrected, "and this is just the beginning." But Jake knew she was right. They had proven something important about humanity that day. They had shown that humans could overcome their deepest fears when something greater was at stake. They had shown that adaptation and growth were just as much a part of human nature as caution and independence. Most importantly, they had shown that being different from other species was not a weakness. It was a strength that could benefit everyone. 2 years had passed since Jake's successful second meeting with Ambassador Zafira. Now he stood in front of a massive building on Earth that had not existed when he first went to space. The sign above the entrance read, "Interspecies Cultural Institute" in 12 different languages, including several that used colors and patterns instead of words. Jake was now the director of the institute. It had been his idea, but it had grown far beyond what he had imagined. The building housed representatives from 23 different alien species, all working together to prevent the kind of misunderstanding that had almost ended human-alien relations before they began. "Ready for another day of controlled chaos?" asked a familiar voice behind him. Jake turned to see Zafira approaching. She now lived on Earth for half of each year, serving as the Valari representative to the Institute. Her skin glowed with the warm, comfortable colors that Jake had learned meant she was happy. "Always," Jake replied with a smile. "What species are we meeting with today?" "The crystalline hegemony sent a delegation," Zafira said. "They communicate through light patterns and sound vibrations." "Should be interesting," Jake nodded. Each new species they met brought new challenges. The crystalline beings were made of living minerals and found organic life forms strange and unpredictable. The aquatic collective breathed water and had to wear special suits to meet with air-breathing species. The void wanderers rarely came close to planets at all, preferring to live in deep space. But thanks to the protocols that Jake's team had developed, first contact with new species was no longer the dangerous, awkward process it had once been. The Rodriguez Protocols, named after Captain Amy Rodriguez, who had first supported the Cultural Exchange Program, were now used throughout the galaxy. Inside the Institute, Jake walked through halls filled with the strangest sights in the known universe. In one room, human children sat with young Valari, learning about each other's cultures through play. In another room, crystalline beings taught human scientists how to grow buildings from living minerals. Down the hall, aquatic collective members worked with human engineers to design better space stations. Jake's favorite room was the training center, where new human diplomats learned to interact with different alien species. Today's class was practicing with volunteers from several species. "Remember," Jake told the human trainees, "every species has different comfort zones. The key is to recognize when your instincts are helping you and when they are getting in the way." One of the trainees, a young man named Alex Turner, was practicing the Valari friendship gesture with a patient volunteer. Alex was nervous, but he managed to complete the interaction successfully. "How did that feel?" Jake asked him. "Weird," Alex admitted. "But not bad weird, just different weird." "That is exactly right," Jake said. "Different is not dangerous. Different is just different." Another trainee, Maria Santos, was working with a crystalline being. The alien communicated by changing the colors of its crystal structure, and Maria was learning to read the patterns. "I think I understand what it is saying," Maria said excitedly. "It is asking about human music." Jake smiled. Music had turned out to be one of the few things that almost all species shared. Even beings as different as the Void Wanderers and the Aquatic Collective could appreciate rhythm and harmony. After the training session, Jake went to his office. The walls were covered with photographs from successful first contact missions. Humans shaking hands with insect-like aliens. Human children playing with creatures that looked like living shadows. Captain Rodriguez cutting a ribbon at the opening of the first joint human-alien colony. Danny Clark knocked on Jake's door and came in. He was now the head of the communications department and had helped develop translation systems for 17 different alien languages. "Jake, we just got word from the edge of the galaxy," Danny said. "There is a new species that wants to meet with us. They call themselves the Eternal Seekers." "What do we know about them?" Jake asked. "Not much. They are very old, apparently. They have been watching other species for thousands of years but never made contact with anyone. They said they want to meet with humans specifically because they heard about what we accomplished with the Cultural Institute." Jake felt a familiar thrill of excitement mixed with nervousness. Even after all this time, meeting a new species was still one of the most important things humans could do. "Set up a meeting," Jake said. "Use the full Rodriguez protocol, and make sure we have representatives from at least 5 other species there as observers." "Already on it," Danny grinned. "You know, Jake, sometimes I think about how different things might have been if you had not frozen up in that first meeting with Zephyra." "What do you mean?" "Well, if that meeting had gone perfectly, we might never have learned how important it is to understand our own limitations. We might have just stumbled from one cultural misunderstanding to another." Jake thought about this. "You might be right. Sometimes our biggest mistakes teach us the most important lessons." Later that day, Jake attended the weekly council meeting. The council included representatives from all the species that were part of the Institute. Today they were discussing a proposal to create a galactic university where young beings from different species could study together. The Valari representative supported the idea enthusiastically. The crystalline delegate thought it was inefficient. The aquatic collective wanted to make sure there would be proper water facilities. The humans suggested starting with a small pilot program to test the concept. As Jake listened to the debate, he realized something wonderful. All these different species with their different needs and perspectives were working together to solve problems. They disagreed sometimes, but they did not fight. They learned from each other. After the meeting, Zephyra walked with Jake to the observation deck at the top of the Institute building. Through the clear dome, they could see spaceships from a dozen different species coming and going from Earth's orbital stations. "Do you ever regret that day when you froze up?" Zephyra asked. Jake thought about the question. "No," he said finally. "I regret that I hurt your feelings and almost ruined everything. But I do not regret that it happened. It taught both our species something important." "What is that?" "That being perfect is not as important as being willing to try again, and that our differences can make us stronger if we learn to understand them." Zephyra's skin glowed with warm, agreeable colors. "That is very wise. I learned it from a very patient alien who gave a scared human a second chance." That evening, Jake went home to his apartment. On his wall was a picture from the first successful human-Valari meeting. In it, he and Zephyra sat together in the traditional gesture of friendship, surrounded by representatives from many species. Jake looked calm and confident in the picture, but he remembered how nervous he had been. The next morning would bring new challenges. There would be new species to meet, new cultural barriers to overcome, new ways for misunderstandings to happen. But Jake was not worried anymore. Humans had proven something important about themselves. They had shown that they could grow beyond their fears. They had demonstrated that their independence and caution, rather than making them poor galactic citizens, actually made them valuable bridge builders who could help other species understand each other. Most importantly, they had learned that their greatest strength was not their technology or their determination. It was their ability to recognize their own limitations and work to overcome them. Jake smiled as he looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Eternal Seekers were traveling toward Earth for their first meeting with humans. It would probably be awkward at first. There would likely be misunderstandings and moments of confusion, but that was okay. Humans had learned that perfect first meetings were not necessary. What mattered was the willingness to keep trying, to keep learning, and to keep building bridges across the vast distances between species. The galaxy was full of different peoples with different ways of thinking and living. And now, thanks to one moment of freezing up that led to years of learning, humans had found their place among them not as conquerors or followers, but as the species that helped everyone else get along. That, Jake thought, was the best possible outcome of all. 3 weeks after the failed meeting, Jake made a decision that surprised everyone. He volunteered to go to the Valari homeworld as part of a cultural exchange program. Most people thought he was crazy. "You want to go where?" Captain Rodriguez asked when Jake told her his plan. To Valeris Prime, Jake said. The Valari government agreed to let a small group of humans visit their world to learn about their culture. I want to be one of those humans. Jake, they are still angry about what happened, Dr. Carter pointed out. Are you sure this is a good idea? It is the only idea I have, Jake replied. I caused this problem. Maybe I can help fix it. The journey to Valeris Prime took 2 months. Jake traveled with Dr. Kate Wilson, a psychologist who studied how people behaved in different situations. Kate was curious about why humans reacted so differently to physical contact than other species seemed to. When their small ship arrived at the Valari homeworld, Jake was amazed by what he saw. The planet looked like it was made of light. Cities built from glowing crystal rose from forests that sparkled like jewels. Everything seemed to flow together in perfect harmony. Ambassador Zafira met them at the spaceport, but she was not warm like she had been during their first meeting. Her skin glowed with neutral white light, which Jake had learned meant she was being polite but not friendly. Welcome to Valeris Prime, she said through her translator. We hope you will learn much during your stay. Thank you for allowing us to come, Jake said. I know our first meeting did not go well. No, it did not, Zephyr agreed. But perhaps understanding can grow from mistakes. The Valari had built special quarters for the human visitors. The rooms were larger than normal Valari spaces because they understood that humans liked more room around them. But even with the extra space, Jake felt strange. Everything on the planet was designed for beings who naturally shared closeness. On his first day, Jake watched Valari children playing in a crystal garden. What he saw made him understand how different the two species really were. The children did not just play near each other like human children did. They constantly touched, hugged, and sat with each other. When one child felt sad, the others immediately gathered around to comfort them with gentle touches and soft, glowing light. It is beautiful, is it not? Said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see an elderly Valari whose skin glowed with warm silver light. I am Keeper Loomis. I study the behavior of different species. It is beautiful, Jake agreed, but also very different from human children. Yes, we have studied your species through recordings. Human children seem to play separately, even when they are together. Why is this? Jake thought about how to explain. Human children do play together, but they also need space to be individuals. We teach our children to be independent. Independent, Loomis repeated the word slowly. This concept is difficult for us to understand. How can one be truly happy without constant connection to others? Over the following days, Jake learned more about Valari society than he had ever imagined possible. Families did not live in separate houses like humans did. Instead, they lived in flowing communities where everyone shared space and resources. Children did not have specific parents. All adults cared for all children. Privacy was almost unknown. But do you never want to be alone? Jake asked Loomis during one of their conversations. Alone? Loomis's skin flickered with confused patterns. Why would anyone want to be alone? Loneliness is the greatest suffering our people can imagine. Dr. Wilson was making similar discoveries. She spent her time talking to Valari psychologists about the differences between their species. What she learned worried her. Jake, she said one evening as they sat in their quarters, I think we have a much bigger problem than we realized. What do you mean? The Valari are not the only species that values physical closeness. I have been reading about other alien civilizations. Almost all of them share similar attitudes about touching and being near each other. Humans are the strange ones. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. How many other species are there? Dozens that we know of. Maybe hundreds. And they all seem to think that physical closeness is normal behavior for intelligent beings. So when we meet them, we will have the same problem we had with the Valari, over and over again. That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through the crystal corridors of the Valari city, thinking about what Dr. Wilson had said. Through the transparent walls, he could see Valari families sleeping together in large, comfortable groups. No one slept alone. He found Keeper Loomis in a garden meditating under the light of the planet's 3 moons. Human Jake, Loomis said without opening his eyes. You are troubled. Yes, Jake admitted. I am learning that humans are very different from other species. Maybe too different. Different how? Jake sat down on a crystal bench near Loomis. We are afraid of closeness with strangers. We need space around us to feel safe. We do not share our emotions as easily as other species do. And this troubles you? It means we might never fit in with the galactic community. Other species will always see us as cold and unfriendly. Loomis opened his eyes and looked at Jake. His skin glowed with gentle green light, which meant he was thinking deeply. Tell me, Jake, why do humans need this space around them? Jake thought about the question. I suppose it comes from our history. On Earth, humans had to survive in dangerous places. We had to hunt for food and protect ourselves from predators. Being too trusting could get you killed. So humans developed caution as a survival trait. Yes. But now that caution makes it hard for us to make friends with aliens. Loomis was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. Do you know how my people survived before we developed civilization? No. We lived in crystal caves, hiding from terrible storms that could destroy entire regions. The only way to survive was to share everything: warmth, food, comfort, even thoughts. Those who tried to live alone always died. Jake began to understand. So your people developed closeness as a survival trait. Exactly. And now we cannot imagine living any other way. Loomis's skin began to glow brighter. But Jake, consider this. Your people survive by being independent and careful. My people survive by being connected and trusting. Both strategies worked. But your strategy seems better for making friends with other species. Perhaps. But what happens when there is a real danger? What happens when caution is needed? Jake looked at the old Valari with new interest. What do you mean? There are species in the galaxy that are not friendly. There are dangers that require individuals to think and act alone. Your people's caution might be exactly what the galaxy needs. For the first time since the failed meeting, Jake felt a spark of hope. Do you really think so? I think, Loomis said, his skin glowing with warm golden light, that diversity of thought and behavior makes all species stronger. The galaxy does not need more species that think exactly alike. It needs species that think differently. Jake spent the rest of his time on Valaris Prime learning as much as he could about galactic politics and the challenges that different species faced. What he discovered gave him an idea that would change everything. When it was time to leave, Zephyra came to see him off. Her skin was glowing with warmer colors than when he had arrived. You have learned much during your stay, she observed. Yes, Jake said, and I think I understand now why our first meeting went wrong. But I also think I know how to fix it. How? Jake smiled. By helping humans learn to be brave enough to overcome their instincts when friendship is more important than caution, and by helping other species understand that human caution is not coldness, it is wisdom. Zephyra's skin glowed brighter. That would be a valuable thing to learn. Will you give us another chance? Jake asked. Yes, Zephyra said. I believe I will.